Moving abroad didn't just change where I live, it also changed the things I care about and the things I don't. After living in different countries and traveling to more than 30, I slowly realized something surprising. A lot of the things that I used to care about, stress over, or even define myself by just don't matter anymore. And that's not because they were not important ones, but because my perspectives changed. I grew up in Brazil, lived in China, and now I live in Colombia. Being exposed to different ways of living doesn't change you overnight, but over time it quietly reshapes how you see success, happiness, and even yourself. The first thing I stopped caring about was other people's opinions about my life choices. I remember one of the times when I went back to Brazil when I was living in China, and I went back to Brazil on vacation. I remember explaining how life in China was, people were excited to hear about it, but as soon as I started talking about it, about my perceptions, my life experience in China and everything, people would ask me, oh, so you don't want to have a family? You don't want to build a family? You don't want to settle down anywhere else? Because in a way, that is people's judgments towards my decision, my life decision. And that, yes, used to be a bit of a problem at the beginning. I used to worry a lot about people who are not even that close to me telling things about my life. But that, over time, I kind of stopped caring about what people would say, what people would how people would judge me. When you live abroad, you realize there's no single right way to live. What looks risky or irresponsible in one country is completely normal, even admirable in another. At some point, you stop trying to justify your decisions. You learn that most people are actually projecting their own fears, not judging your reality. I also stopped caring about being on the same timeline as everyone else. Career, money, building a family, buying a house, these all happen at different stages in people's lives depending where you live and your culture. And when people start seeing you as someone who is always trying to move somewhere else, trying to, experience something different from them, you kind of end up comparing yourself to them. But the truth is, it's about your priorities and where you are in your life. When you stop comparing, you realize you're not behind, you're just on a different path. And living abroad breaks this illusion that life follows one universal schedule. I care much less about job titles and external status. When you've lived abroad, you see that success looks different depending where you are. For some, it's career, money. For others, it's freedom, it's having more quality time. A good life isn't defined by the same things in Brazil, China, Colombia, and that realization takes a lot of pressure off. When I was in Brazil in my 20s, I was building my career as an English teacher, so I was always trying to go to conferences, present papers. I was always trying to, take another course to specialize myself in some kind of area of teaching. I did that in my 20s. I also did that in my 30s. I started looking for better jobs, better opportunities in Brazil, and then that's when I went to China. But the thing is, I did want to climb the career ladder at some point in my life. I was a teacher, I was a coordinator, I was a director of studies. But then after I moved to China, I went back just to the classroom. And I was just an English teacher there. But that's what I wanted. I also worked again in China and then in Colombia as an English program coordinator and stuff like that. But that didn't really matter to me as much as it did back in my 20s or 30s. Right now, I want to have more quality time. I want to enjoy more where I live. I want to travel more and be able to visit these friends who are in different countries in the world. So career, job titles, these are things that don't matter to me that much anymore. I also stopped worrying about having a car. I know that for some people a car means freedom, but it also comes with constant stress, expenses, and responsibilities. Living abroad showed me that not owning a car can actually mean more freedom, fewer monthly worries, and a simpler lifestyle. I do understand that there are some places, some small towns or some cities where a car is essential for you to get by, get around, and do your stuff. But I try to live in cities where I can use public transportation, it is efficient, or I can walk most of the times. I also like to live in countries where it's affordable to fly domestically, and it's also affordable, to take buses, coach, and go to other towns, or even rent a car and drive if I need it. Moving countries forces you to let go, physically and mentally. you can't carry everything with you. So you start questioning what you actually need. Now, this is a bit tricky here, to be very honest with you. This collection here that I have, for example, these are miniatures that I collect, that I've started collecting when I was 20, first time backpacking in Europe. So I take this everywhere I go. These were with me in China. The collection keeps growing. Now they're here with me in Colombia. There are things, there are photos, there are other objects that are very important to you and that you want to carry with you. I also love physical copies of books. So I do tend to carry those books and other stuff that I believe are very important to me to feel at home no matter where I am. However, I did realize that after some time, after traveling so much, you cannot carry your own house back home to everywhere you go. I think what's more important here is to establish a routine where you can still have the things that are non-negotiable for you at the same time that you have a place that you can also call home. I also stopped trying to fit in perfectly. When you live abroad, you understand that you'll always be a little bit different, and that's okay. You don't need to blend in completely to feel comfortable or accepted. It's okay not to be able to answer all the questions your friends back home have about you, about your life, about your future. It's okay not having the same life as your friends back home, the friends you grew up with. It's okay not having being able to fit perfectly in a country where you can speak the language, but you're not, fluent in that language, for example. It's okay. It's about where you are in your life, and it's about your priorities. So I got tired of being asked the same questions. What do you want to do? And what's the plan for next year? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because at the end of the day, I know I'm a little bit different. I know my priorities are a bit different. And at the end of the day, I don't have those answers for them. I also used to worry a lot about losing contact with friends. Living abroad makes you have more friends from all over the world, different places. But the real friends, the one that are going to be there with you along the way, they're going to be there no matter what. So that was a problem that I used to have when I started, moving country to country, and then you miss a wedding, you miss a birthday, you miss important dates. That is unfortunately part of moving abroad, living abroad. You cannot always go back like this. When I was in China, I needed at least 32 hours flying back to Brazil. So it's not always easy, but you know that the friends, the people that truly matters, they're gonna be there with you along the way. It's also important to save some time so you can catch up, or if you are on social media, it's quite important to be active on social media so that people at least see what you're doing, where you are, and you keep some kind of contact. But the real connections, the ones that you want to keep, they're going to be there no matter what. Finally, I've stopped believing that there is only one correct way to live. Traveling to more than 30 countries showed me that people can be genuinely happy under very different conditions, different incomes, different cultures, different priorities. Once you truly understand that, life feels lighter and much more open. And as I stopped caring about those things, I started caring about others, my time, health, meaningful relationships. I became more intentional, not perfect, but more aware of what truly matters to me. And maybe it's my midlife crisis, but as soon as I turned 40, these things became clearer to me. Where I want to be, where I don't want to be, the people I want to talk with, the people I don't want to have contact, the people that really matter to me, and having time to do these things. Health has been one of the biggest aspects that it's something that really matters to me, that I really care about, but also having some quality time wherever I am. I used to take for granted where I was, the time that I could have, going to places and just being on my own or being with people I love and just relaxing and not doing stuff. I think these things are more important, maybe after I turned 40, but also after I turned 40, I don't think I have the same patience. I don't say yes to a lot of things. And that comes with time, that comes with age. And I think that's all part of who you are and the things that matter to you. What are your priorities now? So I think it is part of growing up anywhere you are, but it is also a bit more important once you move abroad, because there are these things happening around you all the time. And now, after some time abroad, you know who you are, you know yourself much more, things are clearer, so you start to understand more your priorities. Moving abroad doesn't magically solve your problems, but it does change your priorities. Because at the end of the day, growth is not about adding more stuff to your life, but it's about understanding what is not important to you at that moment and learning to let go. And letting go, personally, I have to say it's not something easy for me. It hasn't been easy for me since I finished high school and I had to leave my high school friends. It was very difficult for me by then because most of my friends at an international school actually had to leave. They decided to leave the country and go to university in the US, the UK, Canada. So I remember at that time, it was very difficult for me to let go. Now, fast forward 23 years later, 25 years later, I mean, it's this whole different country. And yeah, it hits harder when you don't have your support system anymore. But I don't think I would have been able to get here where I am now if I hadn't, let go of things that are heavy to carry with you, things that don't really matter anymore. And that's all part of growing. That's part of being more responsible for your own decisions, for your own life. So at the end of the day, it's part of the process of living abroad. It's just something you gotta go through. But I wish you to be better prepared for this while you are abroad.